One of the things I wanted to spend some time talking about today is, how doctors conduct themselves amongst each other and what tends to happen when doctors lose respect for another doctor. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. And I was inspired to do this post by, Married to Medicine, which is a show about African American doctors in different branches of medicine. And I'd done a post before, but there were some glitches in the TikTok universe. I myself have worked with doctors for many years now. I've been on several multidisciplinary treatment teams myself, which is where there's a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, a nurse, and other forms of treatment teams and things of that nature. But also, I've worked in several hospitals, and I've worked for several primary care practices many years ago. As a sign of respect, what tends to happen with doctors when doctors are in the public is they typically tend to put on a united front. We're all doctors. We're going to put on our best face. We're going to respect each other, and our work because we're bound by our license and things like that. But we also want to appear to be as professional as possible. Now, they may quibble and have all sorts of arguments and fallouts behind closed doors, but typically, as a sign of respect, hey, I'm going to respect your license, you're going to respect mine, and we're not going to tear each other down in public. I'm going to boost you up, even if I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying or what you're doing. I'm just not going to disrespect you. We'll handle everything behind closed doors. When I have watched Married to Medicine, and even recently, you can point out very quickly which doctor is not respected by the group. And the reason that you can tell which doctor, and it's probably not the one that's most obvious to you all, to the general public, unless you've worked in medicine. But the way that I can tell is because there is a lack of respect by the peers on that. They're not interested in performing a united front with that particular doctor or their spouse. They have lost all respect for them. And I don't know what's happened, but typically, in my opinion, when that tends to happen, when it doesn't matter. I don't care if you get embarrassed. I'm not going to speak up for you. I don't care about presenting a united front with you. It's usually a sign of like you've done something so egregious that we just cannot get on board with you. You're a trash doctor when it comes to medicine. And no one really likes you. Like you, usually that is symbolic of just not being respected in the field in general, but also on a personal level. It's like, I don't even really want to be associated with you. I don't really want to be associated with your kind when it comes to my medical license. In my experience, it usually takes a lot to get to that point. And even among psychologists, when there's been like disagreements and things like that, and people told me that they were going to do some things, I didn't agree with it, and all of that kind of stuff. I'm still asked for allegiance. Like, I've had colleagues very directly say, Natalie, you need to, I know you don't agree with what I'm doing, but you need to be on my side when I break out and I tell people what I'm going to do and I know it's not going to have a favorable reaction. Like, I'm going to need your support. I'm going to need your allegiance. I don't need you out there, saying stuff and getting people all polarized. I've had colleagues say, and then it's been like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. But even in grad school, there was a united front, and I'll get to that. That'll be in another post. But even with me, when I had some challenges in grad school, people who are tenured are not going to speak out against each other, even when they know that what they're doing is wrong. Not until you get a lawyer involved. So there is that united front. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that that's what it is. It typically takes a lot to kind of break away from that. But for the reasons that I mentioned before, and there may be some other things going on, but it usually is, it's usually all bad when colleagues are not willing to align with you anymore. And with doctors, they'll usually put up with it and work with you because I'm getting paid to do that, but I have some serious concerns about you. Would not be too surprised if something came out about a particular doctor in the future, just because of how people are moving on the show. And in my profession, it's like, when people start to break away and they stop giving a damn about, a particular doctor in my profession, it's usually because we know there's some stuff coming down. We don't even want to be associated when the hammer drops on that person. And we know that more than likely they're going to end up in the back pages of the licensing board soon with some sort of violation or something like that. We don't want to be um, we don't want to have our names associated with that type of person. So that's usually how that's gone in the past. Now I'm kind of like a free agent. Most people would say I'm a rebel because I speak about all kinds of stuff. Um, and so they don't, most people don't like people that like tell the truth regardless. But just some food for thought in terms of like, how people sort of move when it comes to professionalism. And you see this all the time, even with other professions too. You see people that just sort of have this wall of silence. We're going to protect our own, and we're not going to speak out about that until we have to. And then when you start to see people sort of break away and not have an affiliation with that type of person, then something's up. In corrections, I see it all the time. I used to see it when I worked with corrections officers. They're not gonna say anything, even though they know that there's bad officers there. But then, somebody's gotten themselves caught up with being inappropriate with an inmate, and then nobody cares anymore. It's like, oh, okay, we don't respect you, and we'll give them anything you want, anything they want to know. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much for watching.